you're born and raised in New
Yeah,
York.
yeah. So I was born in right outside of New York City, about 14 miles outside of New York City, Westchester County.
Oh yeah, the good
Yeah,
part.
yeah, right. So closest for people who don't know the area here, probably like Yonkers, New York would be the closest area.
But Westchester isn't Wingfoot up there or not? The
No,
Westchester Country Club.
Yeah, there's a Westchester Country Club, yeah, and that's in. I'm trying to think where that is. Westchester Country Club. I don't even remember where it is now, but yeah, that's in West. So Westchester's huge. It's
Right.
it's the second largest county in the United States, and it expands from right outside the city, Yonkers, and it will go all the way up to Mount Kisco.
And
So
you,
it's very far
and
away.
you have an older brother or a younger
I have
brother?
one. I have an older brother, 6 years older than me, and both of us we're from Ardsley, New York, which is at one time a very small town, but now it's a pretty nice, affluent area to live.
And dad is a musician.
Yeah, yeah. My dad was a Broadway musician, which is why we lived outside of the New York City area, and he commuted every night to Broadway. For most of my adult years, he retired, or most of my childhood years. Then he retired and was a school teacher after
And
that.
what was like? He would have played an instrument.
Yeah, yeah. He was a classical trumpet player, and
Okay.
he had been in the Buffalo Philharmonic Orchestra, and then moved down to New York City to be in the big symphony. Tried to get into the big symphony, which was very difficult to do. So when
And then what? He's on Broadway, so
yeah,
depending on what theaters he's in, that's a different play all the time.
yeah, he had an agent, and new plays would open up on Broadway, and they need to hire musicians, pit musicians, and he would get a call, and sometimes he'd get a show that would last 3 years. That sometimes he'd get a show that would last a month. So it was just that type of profession. So yeah, so I mean that's what he did for a living. He did it from really through kind of the golden age of Broadway too, in a lot of ways. He started in the early '60s and played all the way up through the late '80s. So
Probably met a lot of famous and sort
yeah,
of infamous people, really.
he did. You know, when he died, we found a list that he had kept of all the famous people that he had played for, and it was really cool because in addition to being a Broadway musician, when he didn't have a show, he would play the different theaters and clubs and whatever else. And so he played for Frank Sinatra, Tony Bennett,
Oh, really?
Elvis Presley. I mean, some old stars now,
Right,
but
right.
some of the greats at the time. So it was a very interesting
Right.
interesting career
And
path.
your mom was a homemaker,
My mom was a school teacher.
a school teacher.
Yeah,
Okay.
when she worked, yeah, she was a school teacher. So, yeah, and so where I grew up is interesting because it's like any town, basically. You could be living in any town, small town USA, but 13 miles away was
Yeah,
New York City, right?
There's nothing about New York that I think would be like any town, even though you're 14 miles out of New York. You know what I mean? Because it's such a,
Yeah.
especially if you're working there. I mean, 14 miles doesn't sound like any big deal, but I mean, Williamston on, to maybe the west side could be 14 miles, but you're getting there in 20 minutes. I mean, what would it take for him to?
I mean, everybody where I live worked in New York City, right? All
And
the
they took
parents.
the train, or did they drive?
Both.
Right.
Daytime workers, most took the train. And
Right.
so they jump on, they commuters every day, businessmen, people would come. And my dad worked an unusual schedule because he
Worked
worked
probably.
nights, right?
Yeah.
But most of the traditional people in my area, parents worked in the city.
But it would be 45-minute drive, wouldn't it? 50 or more, or not?
Not really, no. I mean, because
okay.
we're real. It's probably. I guess when I think about it, because of traffic, I got to factor that in. But yeah, 30, 45 minutes in and out every night.
Right.
So it'd be like if you lived in a Chicago suburb, a lot of bad
Right.
traffic. But the interesting thing about that area is it is a smaller town, but it's so infused by the city.
Right.
The city's just, you can see the Empire State Building from my street, which is one of my interesting memories I have. You can see the top of the Empire State Building. So we were 20 miles from Midtown Manhattan and about 14 miles from the Bronx. So real close, and just the city was a big part of everything
So
for us.
Jets or Giants fan?
Right. So Giants, right? One side of the city, Giants,
Right.
Yankees, Knicks, Rangers. The other side would be, the bad side. The Queens, Long Island side is, although I did have like a 2-year sort of breakaway, and I was a Jet fan
really?
during the New York Sack Exchange years. And,
okay.
yeah, I went rogue in my house, but I quickly came back. Yeah.
So, I imagine you have a pretty, storybook upbringing, right? With both parents working, and
Yeah, interesting. I had an interesting, complicated upbringing, but
really,
yeah, complicated upbringing. My mother had a lot of struggles, and she had a lot of struggles with physical and mental health issues, and so that kind of was an issue for us growing up. But we certainly had everything that we needed, and yeah, so I think could be complicated sometimes. So it wasn't necessarily idyllic, but it was. I had everything
and
we
did
wanted.
did you take up music at an early age? Because you're quite a musician.
Yeah,
Right?
right. So music, and my family, with my father's and from an immigrant family, and both he and my mother, their thing was being well rounded. That's what they
Right.
were obsessed with, right? So school, sports, and music was their big. So we were trained as musicians. My brother and I, we were immersed in music, classical music, when we were kids. And it's interesting because as a very young kid, I was introduced to classical music, right? And so the method of classical, I was a violin player, right? And this
Okay.
was huge.
That's what I was gonna. Yeah,
Yeah.
violin is what everybody taught in elementary school, right?
Right. And then at the time, there was something, it was sort of new in the United States. Now it's everywhere. And I know you're from Okemos, so you've probably seen it in Okemos, but there was a method, a Japanese method of teaching violin at the time. It's called the Suzuki method. And everything that you learned in Suzuki had to be memorized. And so you would start at a very young age. I started, I think, 4 or 5 years old.
Really?
And everything was by memorization, and you progressed through a series of books, and it was rigorous practice and study and everything else. I went through all of that as a young kid, and the interest, and I did not like any of it at the time, because I
Right.
wanted to be more of a kid. But the thing is,
It's not cool taking a violin to school.
it's
right?
not. It's not, right? It's not cool. But it was a big thing in my house, and we were required to practice 1 to 2 hours a day. I mean, it was a big thing. And so the incredible thing is, with the Suzuki method, I learned to synthesize in a linear fashion tremendous amounts of data in my head, right? Which I think has turned over to be a lawyer so well,
Right.
because I'm able to remember a tremendous amount of data and synthesize it in a linear
The act of
fashion.
memorization.
That
is
act of
be-
memorization,
is
yes.
best perfected by memorizing, right?
Right, and it was incredible. You're memorizing concertos, and it's really, and so I studied Suzuki all the way up until I was almost 18. In fact, I got a music scholarship to college. But I rebelled against it so much, and what I wanted to do was sports, so I pushed back.
Besides, what sports did you play then?
As a kid, all three: football, basketball, baseball, and then I really got into playing football, which is what I kind of.
Those were really the only three, unless you grew up on what I call the other side of the tracks, which is sort of the good side, which would have been swimming, tennis, and golf, right?
Right, and lacrosse and hockey, right?
Right.
Those were not big sports. At least my part of New York. I started playing in school, started playing on the street, playing in school, everything else, and got really into playing football. And that's kind of what I really wanted to do. Ended up going on playing football in college. But yeah, so my upbringing was both my brother was a cellist, and we had to do the same thing: rigorous study and practice and school. And so they were adamant about that.
And what was the attraction to the violin and the cello? I mean, your dad, he didn't say you got to play the trumpet, huh?
No, he didn't want us to. Didn't want us to do what he did, but he. Those were the sort of available instruments to study at the time.
They taught him at school, probably.
They did, and you could transfer into playing orchestra and everything else. And in retrospect, it was a wonderful, because I am a music person now, and I went on to learn how to play the guitar, and I had a musical background.
Was that self-taught, the guitar?
Guitar was self-taught, and I was able to, because I had such incredible, rigorous musical training as a young person, I was able to pick it up easily. And that's kind of been a lifelong hobby and a lifelong interest for me.
And you sing as well, which is, right?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, sing and
And was that self-taught?
Yeah, just because again, when you are taught in music, just like if you're taught playing a particular sport, you're going to be able to pick up another sport. So
Right.
you have that musicality, and it was just came easy to me, and that's something I picked up playing the guitar and singing like maybe really early in college, and then I've kept up doing it even to this day. So that's kind of a big hobby.
And the football in high school, how good were you guys? How good was your team?
I would say when I got such an interesting awakening to the differences between Midwestern football and where I grew up on the East Coast. I would say for my area, Westchester County, we were an A school, would be the equivalent of an A school, or a bigger school.
A big school,
Yeah, bigger school, and we were goodish. We weren't like powerhouse, but we would have smaller crowds. It wasn't as big there. And I remember I moved out here, and I went to see. I wanted to see a high school football game out here, and I forget what year it was now, but I went to see East Lansing versus Grand Ledge at East Lansing when Randy Kinder was playing.
Oh,
Do
God.
you remember that back in
I
the
was
day?
going to say, was it Randy Kinder?
It was Randy Kinder, right?
Yeah.
And so I couldn't believe this game, right? I mean, there's probably 5,000 plus people at this game. It was like and that's what we were playing in front of in college. It was like going to a college game, and then just watching Randy Kinder. I mean, he was just incredible, running up and down the field. And the funny part of that was that one of the guys that was on that team, on that Grand Ledge team, was Patrick O'Keefe.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was playing in the game. I was already a lawyer at the time, and he was playing in the game. We've talked about that before. But anyway,
What one would that have been? Like 93?
like somewhere around that time, right?
Fall of 93, probably.
Fall 93 sounds about right. Right when I started practicing, yeah. So that would have been fall 93, and I was just kind of blown away about what this was like. But so the distinction between sports in this area and sports to where I grew up in that part of New York, at least football was dramatic. But
My wife was out of town. We were living in Okemos, and so I had my two sons, and I took them to the Okemos High School football game, which was not at the field, the current field. It was I think at a different field, and it was Randy Kinder.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And maybe it was earlier than that, maybe, but I thought it was the fall of 93 anyway. The Spartan basketball team guys showed up
Oh, really?
because I think they were trying to recruit Kinder. So
Was he a good high school basketball player?
who?
Kinder? I didn't even know that.
No. They were recruiting. They were sort of, and I think it was Matt Steginga and several guys.
Oh, I got it. So they were kind of just working him. I got it. Yeah. I get it. Okay. Yeah.
But he
Trying
went
to lure him in, right? Yeah.
He was, probably one of the bigger high school stars to ever
Oh,
come
yeah.
out.
And he was when I saw him play, and Grand Ledge actually won that game too. It was a great football game. I think Grand Ledge might have won the states that year. They were great, and but he ran up and down the field. I mean, he must have run for over. He was was watching like a man play with children.
Yeah,
I mean, he was just
yards,
oh my yeah, 200 plus yards at least. He was just running up and down the field. Man.
Everybody in high school though wants to make it into the league as a football player, right?
And that's the funny thing. When I was playing high school football, and I probably should have stayed with music, right? I probably would have done better, but because I was very talented musician, because almost like kind of like a prodigy when I was that age, because it was just so drilled into me. I rebelled against it. It was not cool, like you said, bringing your violin case, especially when you start hanging around with guys who are on the football team or on the basketball team. There's a lot of there's a stigma that goes with it.
It's not masculine for sure, right?
It's not, and
especially in that era.
In that era, now it's so different, but so I rebelled against it, but I did, I saw it all the way through. I really wanted to play football, and I think, and I was captain of a good-sized high school team, and I did well in playing football,
That surprises me.
That what?
That you would have been captain.
Why?
Because you don't generally draw attention to yourself, and
that's true.
You kind of, you're very friendly.
Yeah, that's true.
Right, but you
detached a little bit. So
yeah,
for sure.
You know what I mean? Like
you're
not like the guy who's gonna not necessarily not you. You're obviously a leader, but can create a giant consensus. So you must have really.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, and I think that is, I think I've gotten more like that over the years, especially professionally. But yeah, that would probably not be, knowing me now, something that I
Right.
would do. But I was selected, and so I must have had
Right.
I think I was selected by my teammates, and took that very seriously.
I
And
always tell people when there's a vote for the football team, Michigan State, or the
yeah,
basketball team, who the captain. I said, I don't think those votes are counted by Pete Marwick or one of the big four.
yeah, right, totally, totally. So,
But the coach must have liked you.
yeah, I think so, and I certainly was invested 100%.
And
That's what I want.
that discipline of practicing a couple hours a day and the whole Suzuki method must have been easy to transfer to football, right?
It was, and I was disciplined, and I think that one of the things I didn't realize, and I went on to play Division III college football, but I compare so much of it to when I came out here and I saw what big time football is really like,
Right.
and the difference in this, of course, just the natural size of the guys that are playing big time football, but in addition, the athleticism, right? The athleticism of these guys, and just
Fast
oh my
big.
God, fast. You got guys who are huge, they could run like the wind. They have great feet, So and for me, that was when I got out of high school and I started getting recruited. I thought, here comes South Carolina, like I'm going, right? And it was a rude
Right.
it was a rude awakening for me.
One of the things that I've always wondered about is the thing about football is you actually only play the game, a little bit,
Yeah,
right? I
right.
mean, practice is a lot about running drills and little drills and,
Absolutely.
speed drills and for linebacker. I mean, but even as part of practice, how much is actually playing the game at a practice?
Almost none. I mean, it's
You
just
know what I mean?
it's so much drilling.
Maybe that was also sort of fit within your personality, right?
Yeah, I think so. I was disciplined and
Right.
yeah, definitely.
Because I mean, the thing about golf, is like you can practice by playing, you can hit balls, but you can actually go out and play, and football is such a unique thing. I mean, baseball may be the same way. Do you actually, you have batting practice, you have fielding, but do you actually practice by going out and playing an actual game?
Not too much. I mean, baseball,
Right.
also some of the major sport. That's why golf's such a great sport, and that's why golf is a lifelong
Right.
interest that you develop. That's why, if my kids were inclined to do that, I would really push them in that, because it's just such a lifelong interest. And you're right, football is sort of fleeting, and it's so much practice and strength conditioning and drilling, and that for a very small reward in a lot of ways.
So I get the idea of football, and I get the rebellion, and I get the music, and I get all that. Are you thinking at all about law school when you're in high school?
Nothing, zero, never crosses
You
my
don't
mind.
have a lawyer in your household or an uncle that's a lawyer or
Nothing. My house was
not working for a judge at all.
nothing. In my household, it was on my dad's side, the arts were everything, and on my mom's side, my mom, medicine and sciences, and that's why my brother went into medicine and sciences, and he has a very just an incredible academic pedigree,
And
and
how much older is he than you?
he's 6 years older than me.
Yeah, so when you're starting undergrad, he's in med school, likely.
Yeah, yes. So
Yeah.
he was in school he has an unusual, really incredible academic pedigree. He has an MD, PhD. He got his MD at Yale and his PhD at Boston University. So he was just in school for a long
And
time.
he's a neurosurgeon, right?
He's actually a neurologist.
Okay.
He's a neurologist. He's chief of neurology at University of Maryland Hospital, and he also is a researcher. So his expertise is neurology, seizure disorders, things of that nature. But he's pretty well known in that field.
Right. And so, you see him but you're going to what, a liberal arts school?
Yeah, I mean, I went to Hamilton College, which is, most people don't know, out here on the East Coast. It's a very sort of elite, small liberal arts college like Williams or Middlebury or some of those, New England liberal arts colleges.
Where is it?
It's in upstate New York. It's right by Colgate University.
Okay.
1,200 students. So it's like
Right.
it's like going to almost a big high school, and it's 100% a liberal arts education. And I went there almost exclusively to play football,
Right.
with virtually no idea what I wanted to do for
And-
my
and
career
they didn't-
path.
Division III, they don't have scholarships, but they have financial aid, right?
Yeah, financial aid, and they skirt around that. There's you have like student jobs and financial aid and all kinds of ways that they have to get football players in. They also reduce their academic standards for athletes, or else I probably would never have gotten in there. So that helped. What I really wanted to do was play at an Ivy League school, and I had gotten recruited by University of Pennsylvania.
Penn.
Penn. And so I wanted to play in that Ivy League conference. I really did. And I thought I could play
As a linebacker.
that was the problem, because I was a defensive tackle. I was a 250-pound, 245-pound defensive tackle,
Which was
is
probably big back then, weight-wise.
too small to be a college. It was big for high school, too small for a D1 college. Lineman,
yes,
and
yes,
then
but
I didn't have
too
the feet,
big for linebacker, right?
and I didn't have the feet. I didn't have the feet to
The
be
speed?
the speed, to be a linebacker. So I was kind of in that Division I gray area,
Right.
And I ended up not getting into University of Pennsylvania, which is a good thing, because I don't think I could have played there anyway. Where I ended up playing Division III was exactly where I should have
Right.
ended up.
And you played?
I did. I played 4 years, lettered 2 years. I was a 2-year starter, and I played defensive tackle, and I had an amazing experience. It felt like I was playing at Auburn. You know what I mean? It felt,
Right.
To us, it felt, and the games were exciting, and we were competitive, and we played with some really great players. The only difference would be that size and that athleticism that I sort of discovered when I came out here.
So you're studying liberal arts.
Liberal arts. I mean, I was an English. I think I was a history major with an English
and
minor.
what is it like? None of your football friends are thinking of going to law school, are they?
Yeah, a lot of those guys went into business,
Right.
and made a lot of money going into business. A lot of my buddies went into insurance, because the big corporations at the time would come to schools like that, and they'd recruit right out of,
Right.
and they looked at, if you played sports,
Right.
they wanted guys who played sports.
Alpha.
Right. They wanted people who could interact, who could go to the bar and sit and talk and tell sports stories, who were still intelligent and well educated. So a lot of my friends got into those types of jobs and stayed in those jobs: insurance, banking.
Why go to law school? Like, who said, hey, what was your
I mean, I didn't want to do that kind of job, right?
the insurance?
The insurance defense. My brother was in medical school, and I was like, I'm not going to get outdone.
You're
And
not going to go to med school.
I'm not going to be I don't want to be a doctor, but I'm not going to be outdone by my brother.
Right.
So I don't know. How about law school? People said you are good at reading and writing, and so I went based on my aptitudes as opposed to
Right.
my interests.
So you got to take the LSAT. Right?
Yep. I take the LSAT, did poorly on the LSAT, which was pretty standard for me with standardized tests. I don't test on the standardized test. And I think I had an okay grade point average. Mostly I was having a good time and playing football and running around, doing whatever I was doing. So that's, I ended up trying to get into law school, had a hard time getting into law school, and here I am in Michigan,
You get into Cooley because they essentially had a open door
They
policy.
did.
I mean, not technically like a community college, but for a law school, it was almost like a community college.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you remember back at that time, when I applied to law school, '89, that was one of the highest admissions rushes for law school that they had seen in a long time, okay? LA Law was popular on TV, and everybody wanted to be a lawyer. That was sort of the career at the time.
Right.
And so the LSAT standards were high, especially in the New York schools that I was looking at. And so I just was below.
That had been the Justice Thomas,
Yeah, I think
like those hearings.
Yeah, I
like
think
they
all
were-
around that time. Yeah. And so a lot of people want to be lawyers. And so I applied 10 schools. I got waitlisted at one, University of Vermont. I got one acceptance at Cooley, which was my safety school.
Right.
I had never heard of Lansing, Michigan, or even really Michigan, from New York.
And when you come here, are you taking student loans? Is that the plan?
Yeah, student loans.
So when I was at Cooley, it was $250 $200 a credit.
Yeah.
And I think they raised it to $260.
Something
right
like
at
that.
the
Yeah,
end.
I think that's about what it
People
was.
went crazy. So
Yeah.
if you multiply that by 90, it would have been even under $25,000
Yeah,
to
yeah.
go to law school.
Right, which at the time, you'd figure in the 80s, but
Yeah.
it was still a big hit, and I was fortunate enough to have some financial assistance from home, and then also student loans.
But you got to figure out where to live, and you got to figure out all that stuff. And
Yeah, you do, and it was a huge transition. The East Coast and the Midwest are very different. Growing up in the New York tri-state area and Lansing,
right.
Michigan, it's a big culture
Yeah.
shock. It really is. It's very different. So when I got here, it was just so different.
But you're not coming here alone, because there are a lot of people from Philly and
At
New
the
York,
time, it
New
was
Jersey.
everybody, right?
I mean, it seemed like there
It
was
seemed like it was everybody
Yeah,
when we were there.
yeah.
Florida or wherever
right,
else.
but Florida, New Jersey people who grew up in Florida, right? They have the
Yeah.
accent and everything.
Everything. I mean, it was every one of my people that I knew, I gravitated to all. It was like,
Right,
exactly. No, and I ended up having a lot of close friendships at Cooley for that reason. It's just the initial act of coming out here was a little bit.
Everybody's in basically a boat together, right?
Exactly. And Cooley, Cooley was rigorous. I will always defend the education that I got at Cooley Law School. I will. I'll always defend it.
I say this all the time when people say, they don't teach you everything you need to know. A lot of things they never teach you. And I always say, they actually teach you everything you need to know.
Absolutely.
You just didn't learn it or can't learn it the first time.
Yeah.
You can't learn, but they teach you 404B in law school.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
It just is something difficult to learn, and it's a completely different concept to learn 404B than to jump up and object and make an articulate,
Absolutely.
clear objection.
The practical nature of that education,
Yeah.
and my friends used to tease me again, you understand, nobody from Hamilton College is coming to Cooley Law School
Right.
for the most part.
Right.
Nobody and they used to tease me. They said that when I would graduate, I'd get a law degree and I'd also be a licensed welder, and I'd get a free set of tools. Remember those commercials?
Right.
So, which I took, in good spirit. But in a lot of ways, you know what? I was ready with tools when I got out of there.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing when Michael Cohen got in all that trouble, and
Right.
there was a talk show host on CNBC or MSNBC, and they were bad mouthing him, and they were saying, well, he went to the worst law school in the country, and I was very upset about that, because people don't realize. I think you get, if you have the smarts and the diligence to use those tools, man, you're going to get as good a practical education to go out and actually be a courtroom grinder lawyer on the front than you will anywhere else.
My dad used to dad used to say this about LCC.
Mm-hmm.
They teach out of the same books,
Right.
as Michigan State or whatever. LCC,
Right.
I mean, we grew up, nothing wrong with LCC. Cooley was the same way. I mean, Miranda versus Arizona is the same case at Cooley as it is at Harvard or Yale or
Absolutely.
Right.
In the paper chase, the first day of class, they learned Hadley versus Baxendale, and that's the first class Professor Stockmeyer, opened up with that.
So you
it's
come here from New York. You remember your first day in class?
Yeah, I do. I remember my first day.
What professor did you have?
Professor Stockmeyer, Hadley versus Baxendale, and that
Contracts?
Contracts, yeah.
Right.
We had Stockmeyer, and I had John Nussbaumer,
Right,
who
for
was
criminal law.
Criminal law, who was real influence, I think.
One
and
of the best teachers. Stockmeyer was great, but
Yeah.
Nussbaumer regularly was.
Practical, wonderful teacher, right? And then I think I had John Scott for property. That was not my. Remember John
Scott
Scotty?
was tough.
Yeah, he's
Scott
tough, and
was
he would call on you.
Not tough in the sense of his demeanor and his teaching was not great.
But he was tough. He would embarrass you if he'd get you on your feet, which whatever.
I had Scott for evidence.
Oh, did you? Yeah, that's right.
And I don't remember where he went, but he went to some probably big school like Harvard or
something like that.
Yeah. And he said, I just want you to know that when I had evidence, my prof told me everything you need to learn is right in the horn book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I never really bought a horn book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I did for his class.
Yeah, those horn books
because
that
I
I'd
knew,
known.
And he was always behind.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if and it was just one of those things, but it was one of the few classes that I studied the Hornbook,
Yeah.
in addition to everything else.
Right. It's a code book, right? It's a
Right.
code case, and like the
Right.
cases don't teach you anything. If you just read the cases and evidence, you're not going to know that. In fact, I wasn't until I took like a evidence seminar or something like that, later on, where I'm like, oh, this is where you use evidence.
You didn't work in law school.
I work for Norm. Yeah.
Oh, in law school.
I did. Yeah. So I was with Norm 6 years in total, 2 as a clerk and 4.
So you got some practical experience.
Yeah. For sure.
But Norm probably wasn't trying a lot. He was probably trying some. He was probably doing some court-appointed cases.
Yeah, by the time I got to Norm, he had tried a lot of big criminal trials in the past.
Yeah, yeah.
He was quick to tell me about those. But mostly what he did was divorce.
Right.
And if you wanted somebody to fight over every single pencil in your house and bill you, some people don't care about that. They want to fight over every object in the house, and that's what Norm would do. He's a bulldog.
Yeah. So. You're in law school, and essentially most of the classes are core classes, and you get like 18 credits of electives. I mean, are you thinking, I really love this criminal law stuff, or are you thinking?
I'll tell you, Andrew, I really didn't care about any of it that much. I mean, I kind of sat an unorthodox path. I was getting by. I struggled a little bit. I did fine, but I wasn't lighting it on fire, and I didn't have a real interest in what I was doing until I took trial workshop.
Oh, really?
And that was mandatory at the time. I don't know if it is now. Yeah. And I really liked it. And I said to myself, wait, for the first time maybe in my entire life, I said, I might have found something that I want to do.
Right.
You know what I mean? I liked it. I liked it. I liked the preparation. I liked the competition. I liked the storytelling. I liked all of that. And I felt like a lawyer. I thought that was really, so the classes that I took, I was interested in criminal law. I thought I was going to go that way, or torts. I liked PI and that sort of thing. I took trial workshop, one an advanced trial workshop, which was great. We did 2 full trials, and then I was an intern or an extern at Sato.
Oh, right.
And I worked with Fred Bell.
State Appellate Defender's Office.
Yeah, and I worked with Fred Bell. And Fred was my mentor. I know, Freddie, great. I mean, just a wonderful person.
Best.
Yeah, I know, just a wonderful guy. And he was my mentor, and we actually got a case to work on. And that was, I love that.
That's appellate law, right?
Right, that was appellate. So I was kind of looking, did I want appellate law? But I really liked the trial practice part of it.
And the experience there is like, I assume maybe it's almost like getting a master's, right?
Where is this now?
At the State Appellate Defender's Office.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And very focused, right? Because you're seeing a decent amount of cases and you're reviewing them for error, and you really have to know that area of the law, right?
It was and it was very, very cerebral, and I really liked it. I'm unfortunately not the best writer. I'm a fine writer, but I'm not a great writer, so that certainly wasn't going to be my path. But I really liked looking at it tactically and how to approach, because I really strategically, that's what I really liked, how cases were approached strategically. I liked reading testimony, I liked the stories, and that really, so that started.
And that's a dynamic. That's a very dynamic skill.
Yeah.
Right?
It is.
Because you can develop a lot of strategies, right? Mm-hmm. But often, and you see this, maybe this is too much of a criticism. Often you see lawyers who have this strategy, but they don't connect it to the verdict they're trying to get. Like,
absolutely,
what was the point?
Absolutely.
Right? Like, oh, you had this strategy. This is what you're going to do. And I'll be honest with you. I mean, I still do that today just because, if I think something's going wrong, or I often miss I'm willing to like fight on a minor point, even though
you're in a tough spot as a defense attorney, because sometimes you have to choose between like telling a story and then you got no story to tell, and you got to just undermine a story.
You want to preserve the record.
Right.
And here you are making this objection and making this point just to preserve the record.
Absolutely.
Let
me ask you this. What's your thought on where you have defense attorneys go in and they offer inconsistent defenses? And I understand you can do them. I always, from my perspective as a prosecutor, it's not that effective. Like, I wasn't there, but if I was, it was self-defense. Or if sometimes I guess you have to do that, right? it's ineffective storytelling.
Have I done it? Because I don't want to
course, right?
say, I don't want to say I've never. You're talking about, first of all, you're talking about in an actual trial in front of a jury. You're not
Yeah.
talking about plea negotiations.
No, in a trial, you know, because you're.
And I don't know that I've ever done it, but you know, I think you can tell multiple stories, but they better not be inconsistent.
Yeah, they better coalesce somehow. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They better not be. You can't prove, in the Ricky Holland case, which you're familiar with, you can't prove the death was a homicide because you don't know the cause of death. But even if you can prove that it was a homicide, you can't prove that it was my client over Tim Holland.
That coalesces. Yeah, that's a story.
that's
Those
a
are two stories that come together.
But I do think you have to have people around you that you can roundtable the case with, right?
Sure.
Who can say, well, you know, that's inconsistent, right?
That's inconsistent.
And
right.
I always say, if you assert alibi and it fails,
you're losing.
you're toast.
Right.
Yeah.
It's bad. Yeah.
It's
Totally.
great if you have a great alibi defense, but if they don't believe the alibi,
Right. Don't say it's a GBH. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I understand. I get
you're
it.
toast.
I get it. So yeah. So but yeah, that's that experience at Sato and that experience in trial practice that started to kind of coalesce what I think. Okay, this is what I want to do. Now, how do I go do it?
So you're working for, and I'm getting past law school. You're working for Norm Gaffney, and you know, really, Norm impacted a lot of people. You know, it's funny how many lawyers that come up to me and say this about Norm or that about Norm.
Yeah.
And I remember him, and I knew who he was, and my dad did, you know, divorce cases, so he would be on the other side, and I did cases against Norm, and quite frankly, he beat me on a case.
Oh, did he? Yeah.
And I remember it well because it was like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's your first job. He's telling you you're going to, you know, take over for him. And then, you know, you leave him, right?
Yes. That was
Which would have been like
terrible.
Which would have been like you saw an ad in Lawyers Weekly, or, I mean, I can't believe it was. Maybe you were on the opposite side of Bankston, or
This is how I got that job. I tried a case. My first. So I had tried. I had tried a case in Jackson County where Norm. It was a. I was trying to think how many co-defendants. It was like six or eight co-defendants on a delivery they had done. They delivered like 750 pounds of marijuana.
650 law was in place.
Yeah, this was marijuana though at the time, right?
Marijuana.
And so Norm represented the driver of the truck, and I represented in the same case, right? No conflict. I represented this kid who had come up from Mexico to unload. Didn't speak English, right? To speak, and it was this long conspiracy that came in from. Out of Arizona through Mexico, and the whole time it was about a 3-4 week conspiracy.
Probably.
Yeah, and everything. The guy that negotiated the whole thing was a state trooper, right? So they just got. I mean, they got dinged, and so we tried this case. I tried it in front of Judge Grant.
Oh God.
Down in.
Oh God.
And it was my first trial, 1994.
Right.
Okay. And Rich Zahari, and I don't know if you know Rich. Rich Zahari's down there, and Judge Grant's on the bench, and it's absolute madness. I have no idea what I'm doing. And then there's three of us, and so it's 5 co-defendants, and 2 were represented by guys from out west who they'd come in pro hoc vici, and they were going to do the case in Jackson. We tried the case, Andrew. Grant is furious at the prosecutor the whole time, and his Mike Dungan, or I can't think what the prosecutor's name. I think it was Mike Dunnigan or Mike Dunnigan. Down there, and a real nice guy, right?
Yeah.
And then he went on.
He's in private practice.
Private practice, right? Real good guy, right? So he for whatever reason, he and Grant were having trouble, and it was. I don't want to go on forever, but this is what Grant does to spite him. Grant gives me a directed verdict of acquittal.
Really?
Dude, my first case,
Wow.
Andrew, I walk my guy out the door. Okay, 1994. I've been in practice a year.
Double jeopardy.
Right? Out the door, right? Yeah, double going. Now, of course, I think I'm the man, right? Now I'm unstoppable, right? So, and it was a fluke, and it was done totally out of spite. The rest of them, they all got convicted, right? Norm's guy got convicted, so Harvey's guy, so it was all just, right? And I got to clip of it. Judge dismisses one that gets, and this young kid goes back to Mexico, right? Whatever he's doing, right? Real nice kid, and so I think I'm unstoppable. My next case, I get a CSC case, and the guy was, not a good case for me, and I'm of course puffing, right? I run he's charged with 1 count of CSC first. I run the prelim with Lyndon Maloney, and he gets bound over on 3 counts of CSC first, right? And then I try the case against Tom Warren in front of Bill Collette.
Oh man!
In the second floor, on second floor, and I got. I'm trying to think how I can put this. I got so ripped to shreds by Judge Collette.
Oh yeah.
For 5 days. I mean, ripped to shreds. In fact, the issue on appeal, and he got convicted. The issue on appeal was ineffective assistance of counsel, and one of the claims was that the trial judge was so biased against me, or he just treated me so poorly that their client didn't even
berated you so much.
I got eviscerated, and some of it was maybe well-founded, and some of it was just what was going on in that room, right? And it was so bad I was going to quit the practice of law. I was devastated. I had tears in my eyes. It was terrible, right? He was screaming at me, okay? And you know what that's like in there. So, but then Hubbard is looking for a new associate, and so Judge Collette tells Bankson, I got this kid, he just tried this case in front of me, did a real good job. And that's how I got the case.
That was Collette, though,
That was
right?
Collette. He referred, because him and Tom were friends.
Yeah.
And he said, Tom said, you know anybody? We're looking for a new associate. And he recommended me, and that's how I got the job. After a week of just getting crucified, he got me my job at Hubbard.
I'm trying this case.
Forever indebted.
My first case in front of Collette, super high profile, right? Assault GBH, Michigan State game. Kid grabs this high school kid, prominent family in town, pulls him out in front of this party, which used to be like a cul-de-sac, not the way it is now.
Yeah.
And slams him up against the road and he's paralyzed.
Oh my gosh, okay.
And mom is the emergency room doctor, so you get the whole
mess, yeah.
And it's in the front page of the paper every day, and I'm picking the jury. It's my first jury, and I'm in there by myself. I mean, my dad sends me over, welcome to the NFL, right?
Yeah, right, exactly.
And it's against Frank Simone.
Oh God, yeah.
And he's
a good prosecutor.
And I'm getting my questions ready the night before, and one of the questions I see on there is, you ever been on a jury before? Yes. Was it a criminal case? Yes. Did you reach a verdict? Yes. What was the verdict? Right? It's right like out of some book I'm looking, right?
Mm-hmm. He probably didn't like that question.
I go, what was the verdict? And he screams at me. Yeah. You can't ask that question. It's like, well, okay, well, I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why, but okay. And I just felt like this small.
And then the trains leaves the station because anything you do after that,
I'm thinking, it's going to be a week of just getting beat, right?
Yeah.
And we take a break, and I'm walking around like a beat puppy in the back because you could walk in the back.
Right.
And then Jack and Jill sort of set up, and he says to me, he doesn't say a booed or something, but he basically says, a booed, what are you moping around for? I yell at everybody. Forget about it. It's over. Like,
I know. As a young attorney, man, it's like so demoralizing.
You can't. You're just like in front of everybody. It's the jury's packed. The back of the.
Of course.
And Frank was about as smooth as.
Frank was a good prosecutor, smooth, knew exactly what he was doing.
No mistakes.
No mistakes, exactly, right? And I remember Collette in that case, he screams at me at one point. He just says. He screams at me, he goes, what are you doing? And I never forget, I remember thinking to myself, I don't know. Like, get me out of here, So that was like, that is the welcome to the NFL moment.
So he referred you, right? He referred you to
Hubbard.
Bankston.
I go in there, I interview with Mike Woodworth, and they said, Collette recommends you.
You're not telling Norm at all.
No. It was bad,
And then they offer you a job.
Yeah.
And then how do you go tell Norm your first big move?
It was a breakup. I mean,
Yeah.
it was like your son telling. I had that kind of a relationship with
Yeah.
him. You know, I was his guy. You know, I was,
Right.
and he was. We had a huge rift, and it
Oh,
was.
really?
Oh yeah, yeah. I really, Norm's gone, and we never really kind of healed it. But I feel like I really broke his heart. You know, like
Right.
he had like this. He looked at me like a son, like I was leaving the
Right.
family or something. You
Right.
know, and he was furious with me, and he hated Hubbard too. Like
Oh, he did.
oh yeah, he hated Hubbard and everything else. So it was a bad breakup.
Yeah.
But it was the right thing to do, and keep it nice and. There was reasons I needed to leave, and so
Right.
I just think Norm it was not the right fit anymore. But he
Yeah.
had a succession of different associates. Our one friend being one of them.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
So you go to Hubbard, and how long are you there?
I was in there. I was at Hubbard from '96 to '99.
And most of that is civil work, right?
Yeah, I worked directly for Woodworth and Bankston. It was mostly civil. I was in their general litigation division. I learned so many good things. I took a lot of
Bankston did
depositions.
the Don Miller case. Was that would have been before your time, right?
He did the second Don Miller case while I was there.
Oh, okay.
The first one was, many in the 70s or whatever it was, but the second one was when he came up on that prisoner in possession of contraband,
Right. Oh,
and all the prosecutors, Stuart Dunnings and Jeff Souter and the Chippewa County prosecutor, they all tried the case
Oh, really?
against him in the Sioux up there in what county is that up there, right over in Chippewa County, right,
Okay.
where the prison is. And Tom represented him on that.
And won or lost?
He lost. It was he had a button with a string on it. I'm trying to keep him up there, but because
Yeah.
I didn't want him to parole.
Right. And so, but mainly civil, and
Mainly civil. The only thing I wanted more trial experience. So I asked if I could get on the court appointed list, which they really balked at because no one at the Hubbard law firm has ever been on the court appointed. But
and did you do that?
I did, and they let me get on the
Nickel and
appointed.
dime cases, was it in Eaton or Ingham?
Both. I was on both Eaton and Ingham, and I was on the C list to start here, and then into the B list. By the time I left, and then I had actually got an offer while I was at Hubbard. I got an offer to go from Frank Reynolds. I talked to Frank because I wanted to, and then I ended up going to prosecutor's office instead of going to Frank's. But so I could have kind of gone a different direction. But I did a lot of one of the things I did at Hubbard, Andrew, was I took a lot of depositions.
Oh, right.
And taking depositions, especially expert depositions, man, that does the quality of your questions and the form of your questions, I think, really gets strong when you're doing that kind of work.
For sure.
That background and you're taking them cold half the time, and so a lot of times the prosecutor in trial practice, I don't know what my witnesses are going to say. No one's cooperative. No one wants to talk to me, and so that ability to question cold, that comes really from taking depositions.
You can do thousands of depositions, and no matter what, you're never going to get that kind of experience doing trial work, right?
No, depositions in terms of just flat out taking testimony from people, or if you're taking a DeBenna essay type of thing, you got to go in there and you got to learn to build your expert testimony, and you got to look at 702 and 703
And the
all
people
these
that do it,
requirements.
who are really good,
Unbelievable.
You can tell. You're like, oh my God.
Like, this is impeccable transcript.
I could have never done that, right?
Of course. And, so you're a newer lawyer, you're learning.
Yeah.
Tom would look at my transcripts, and, that's when you're learning lawyer skills. They would look at your transcripts.
I did a case early in my career, 93 to 95 or 6, and Bill Schultz was the lead.
That guy, just a monster.
Yeah.
A monster, that guy.
And I watched him depose my clients, and I thought, I'd like to be just like him. The way he can do it in a common sense, and he can make you look like a liar without saying you're a liar, because just his facial expressions and the follow-up questions.
Well, you've achieved that, though. I'm
just saying that.
I know you're the host, but your ability as a cross-examiner is just it's unparalleled in my opinion.
We better get this part for the.
We'll cut for the final
part.
edit. Yeah, you probably will.
We'll get that. But really, what I want to focus on, and so not so much anymore. But there was a period of time when, at the prosecutor's office, where there was sort of a gang of like maybe 3 or 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
John Dwayne.
Yeah.
You. Mike Cheltenham.
Yeah.
and I must be missing one more, but maybe at least you,
Jonathan Roth at the end there
Jay
before.
Roth,
Yeah,
but you guys were all trying homicide
yeah,
cases,
for sure,
right?
for
and
sure.
basically, that's all you did.
Yeah, yeah. I
Right.
mean, and we have a version of that now for sure. Yeah, but
Right.
but at the time, yeah, that was a pretty. It was John and I were the after Jonathan left. It was Jonathan, Mike, me, and John Dwayne that were doing the bulk of the homicide cases at that time. We were just kind of doing them one after the other, and then
And I'm not saying it was competitive, but you picked cases and
it was
you
a little
tried.
competitive, but we were all trying to get good cases
Right.
and going after good cases, and you had certain detectives that would come to you, and then you develop certain niches. Everybody has a certain niche type of
You've done
homicide.
a bunch of. It seems like recently you've done a bunch of baby death cases.
When I started out, I was in a child abuse unit. So when I started out doing homicides, I was doing the child homicides, and so I was very interested in doing those. And then went into doing more like street crime type homicides. But I definitely have some expertise in doing those child cases. Yes, and then I've dipped in. I have a couple going right now. I just did one, kind of a prominent one, which was unusual, and then I have another one going right now.
And you started working for the prosecutor when?
I joined the prosecutor's office in November '99, so I've been there 28 years
So
almost.
Stewart had been a prosecutor since 96 or 97. 97.
Something like that. I remember. Yeah, he hired me, and
when
he was
when was the presidential election? 96, I think.
96. I think that sounds about right.
So
yeah,
90, he won in 96, and then
yeah,
took
that sounds
office,
right. That sounds right.
took office in 97, and so 2 years later you get hired.
Yeah,
And I assume, you start out in district court and you work your way up.
yeah. I did a quick stint in district court because I'd been practicing almost 7 years. I had came in with some experience.
Right.
So I was in 54A for I think the first couple months, and then by March or April I was in Harrison
Running a docket.
and we were in the annex building out in
Yeah, I
Mason, and
remember
that was
that.
just Collette and Harrison out there.
And you would have practiced a decent amount of time with Mike Ferenczi.
Yeah, Mike was my close friend and a real mentor to me, and yeah, so I worked a lot with Mike. I know, yeah,
My God, it's not around.
yeah. So I worked very closely
Tell
with
me,
Mike on a lot of things.
look at we're gonna. I don't think we're gonna finish this today.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm rambling on.
No. This is great, but tell me whether you think this is true. So you got. It was Harrison and Brown, I think, were out there, but for a while Houck was out there. So.
It was Harrison and Collette in the annex, and then it was Houck was in the big courthouse in Mason, and then when Harrison lost, it was Brown and Collette out there. So I had Harrison, and then I had Brown.
Yeah,
I had both their
And
dockets.
for a while, Houck was in an annex, a different one.
Oh, was he?
The courthouse must have been under construction.
Yeah, I don't remember when Houck was. I always remember him in the big courthouse.
And I don't know if you ever practiced in front of Coleman.
Before my time.
Yeah, and Collette used to be on the mezzanine level of.
Yeah.
And then Glazier.
Glazier and Stell were in town center.
Yeah, and did you practice in front of them?
Oh yeah.
Stell could be brutal.
Yeah, I tried a case in front of Stell, and she was great. She'd practice, she could just peel the skin right off you, man.
She was pretty decent with me, but
she was good. She was a very knowledgeable trial judge, but she could just that courtroom was high pressure, man.
Yeah,
high pressure. The courtrooms are much lower pressure now, and that may be just because of age. But
in the NBA, how there's at least a myth that if you're Michael Jordan coming down the lane, you're going to get a foul call that a rookie might not get. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you get that, right?
Right.
Do you think that was true with guys like Ferenczi when they walked into the courtroom?
I do.
I mean, and there were other guys, and especially against the young lawyers, right?
Yeah.
And what do you think about that? I mean, that's what I consider sort of the romantic era of, because I went up against Ferenczi a decent amount of time. And
Yeah,
I was
you
just
did.
Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah,
Are you kidding me? Like,
he would get a lot of the calls. A lot of calls on the line would go this way.
Right.
I think that's out there. I do, and I think especially as it relates to if you have with prosecutors, and you have experienced prosecutors, and I think the judges may trust your
especially
discretion on things.
when
And I
you're
think
running their docket, right?
and if they may not know the answer, they're saying, well, this prosecutor probably does know the answer, so it might go their way. I think there's something to that, depending on the courtroom.
I think if even if there's a little bit, it was exponentially different with Ferenczi.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah.
I mean, when we tried that case with him, I mean,
the big one.
yeah, I mean, it would be like Manorfield would be like, well, what do you think, Mike?
Yeah.
We'd be like, what do you think? It was like, come on.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Like,
Right.
I'm right here.
I know. I know. Hey, I've seen it. I will say this. I've seen it in other courtrooms, though, where I'm a young prosecutor and I was going against, for example, like Mike Hocking.
Right.
And Mike on the other, I mean,
Right.
Mike, we'd be getting every
Yeah.
call. And
Yeah.
I'd be like, and one time
Yeah.
I said something about it. It was bad to say. I won't
Right.
talk about the judge, but I made reference to it when I used to have a hot head. I don't have a hot head
And
anymore, but
I still make reference to, like, I've tried cases and with other lawyers, which is
Yeah.
always fun. And I always say, look I won the objection. Like I win that one, right? I won that one. But, and I'm not, look at, this show isn't about downgrading Mike at all.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
if he's prosecuting cases and
Yeah.
he has that cachet, he has every right to use it. I
Absolutely.
assume that you would use it if you could. I would use it. You have to.
Yeah,
And,
I mean,
and
he,
Mike
had a, he had a mystique. He really did.
Yeah.
And I think, and in a lot of ways, that mystique was, well, I mean, the guy was fearless. He had 100,000 cases
Yeah.
and whatever. And I think that he would, especially in an environment where the judge might not know the answer, they're going to defer to him on it. And the other thing is he was a hothead. So maybe he would, and maybe they just didn't want to hear him go. I don't know.
He had a weird kind of, emotion.
He was ready to rumble with every
It was kind of weird though.
0 to 100.
So, I mean, in the era where my dad was, if he was yelling at you, it was, and I've had Mike get mad at me and it was like, hey, Mike, you got an interesting temper, but it's not like
your dad. I never forget this one time. I'll tell you the story quick. One time I was in, I was down on the second floor there, and that's where the old building, and there was a pretrial services. Pretrial services was up there, and there was some sort of a bond hearing, and one of the pretrials, Joanne. Remember Joanne Kilmeyer years ago? She was a pretrial services worker. And she had done some sort of hearing, and she came back into the court. I never forget this, and she was sobbing, right? And they're, what's the matter? When she was Brenda Boot.
Yeah.
Your dad must have really lit her up.
Those guys, like it between Fred and Camille and Dick.
Yeah.
They're the three brothers, man.
Yeah.
If you got them on the wrong, I mean, look at my dad was great with me.
Yeah, yeah.
But he could,
temper,
on a dime. It didn't even. Even with his temper, it was his energy. Like he could dress you down in 2 seconds. Like it was just like,
yeah, no, I get it. And he had the confidence, and he could back it up.
Yeah,
and you got to be able to, you got to back it up. There's people that'll go off like that can't back it up, and he could back it up. He could back. That was an era where the practice of law was.
That's what the different. There were pillars
who really would light you up, and there was a hierarchy for sure, and you kind of kept your mouth
Leo
shut.
Farhad, I don't know if you remember.
I do, and he was a beast too.
Really, Frank Reynolds, right?
Frank was a real gentleman, swimming in that world,
but definitely,
but could light you up.
Monster
if he wanted to.
Cases.
Yep, monster, one after the other, monster cases, one after the other that he won, and that was that was sort of that era where we came up. There were just so many greats, and they could back up everything that they did.
What? So you've been in the prosecutor's office how long?
28 years.
And what do you think, looking back on it, like?
Wow, that's
usually ask that question at the end.
Yeah,
we're not to the end, but so 28 years. What I'm kind of getting at is like, if you would have, 28 years ago, if you would have written down, this is what I want to accomplish at the prosecutor's office, like,
right.
I imagine you would have said, I just want to have a job and I don't want to get fired in the first 6 months or something like.
Right. I mean, I came in and I had, I had little goals. I want to try 10 cases. I want to try a life offense case.
Right.
Someday I'd like to try a murder case. Then it went up to I'd like to try 20 murder cases. I'd like to try, whatever it is. And I think that I look back, especially we've talked a little bit. I had what I considered a slightly, to me at least, it was an inauspicious start. But a couple things. One, I've had the opportunity to work with, on both sides of the ball, both in the prosecutor's office and against other people, some wonderful lawyers that I've worked with, learned so many things from. I've got a million crazy stories from doing this job. I've seen the incredible range of emotional experience, from elation to real tragedy to real sad things to redemption to people being, really you see the real. The courtroom, as you know, is nothing like TV. It can be very boring. It can be, but on the other hand, the actual real life drama that can go on in a courtroom is so much more depth than what you have on TV. And so
I always say the sex on TV is like what it's like being a defense lawyer.
You think so? I like that. Yeah, I like that.
But the thing is. I would agree that there are points in a case where you have a real opportunity to create real drama.
Absolutely,
and
the tension is so heavy.
Sometimes you can feel it, right?
You can feel the tension,
or the weight of it, or I don't know how you explain it. But
do you remember one time I told you? I said we tried a big case together, and I said to you, this is a good old fashioned Ingham County Circuit Court homicide trial. Do you remember? I don't know if you remember ever said that to you, and you were like, what do you mean by that? And it's kind of what I meant by it, where this was like like in the old days when you'd have like Simone versus Reynolds, or some of these battles that would go on. And I think where the tension and the stress and the intensity is palpable, man, and the big stakes on the line, and good lawyering, and it's just this place where there's good lawyering on both sides with tough facts, and it just creates a tremendous tension that can't be recreated cinematically, sort of, that you just have to experience. And I've got a chance to see that. So how wonderful is that?
It's a compliment, I think.
It is. It's a huge compliment.
So I want to get through some general stuff. So you never worked with Don Martin?
No,
right?
I know Don, but I never worked with him.
Never worked for him, I guess.
No, I worked for Stuart for a long time until his untimely
Stuart,
departure.
Gretchen.
Yeah, Carol,
and John.
Yes.
And I guess getting back to, like, when you started out, did you think at some point, this is the kind of lawyer I want to be? Like, this is, whether it was a person, I want to be, like, what kind of lawyer did you picture yourself? Like,
I think that I wanted to be a lawyer that's sort of an amalgam of different mentors that I had, okay, because so many different mentors brought different things, okay. I wanted to be, even as I've discussed from the start, the highest degree of professionalism. I wanted to have the lawyering skills that I thought Bankston had. I wanted to have the sort of strategic abilities that I thought Sam Smith had when I went to the prosecutor's office. I wanted to have the tenacity that Ferenczi had. I wanted to have that toned down to the professionalism that I thought Joyce Dragonchuk had, or Frank Simone. You know what I mean? So I kind of used all of those as an amalgam, and I, of course, have not realized that it's not. I'm not saying that I am that. I'm saying that I strive for that, and every day, and I fall short of it every single day. But those are those mentors that you see in so many. It's so critical for young lawyers in particular to have these mentors, to have these people you aspire to be. You had your dad, right? Talk about an incredible person to.
But I mean,
and others.
And I'm not minimizing him, but by far, when I went and watched him cross-examine people, it was, it was amazing. Like, when I say amazing, like the best I've ever seen.
Your father?
Oh my God!
Yeah, and I wish I would have gotten a chance to see him more.
But I did a med mal case. We represented the church. There was this med mal case, and there was a lawyer by the name of Ed Stein.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know Ed Stein. Yeah,
medical defense guy.
Yeah,
and we would do these deps.
Those guys are are
and he
unbelievable.
was just a rock star. You know,
They're
what I mean? It was just
unbelievable.
like I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
You know, but I would watch this guy, and you know, Bill Schultz. I still think is one of the
Unbelievable.
best I've ever seen. I always love doing cases where there's multiple lawyers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I did that Beale Street where with Emerson.
Yeah, yeah,
ended
yeah.
up going federal, and the only reason why I
The
took
homicide,
it,
yeah.
only reason why I took that case is I think there were 7 defendants,
Yeah.
and I thought, hell, fuck yes, I'm taking that case.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
they couldn't pay us hardly any, but
Yeah.
I said, fuck yes, I'm taking that case because I got a chance to be the best lawyer in the court. You know what I mean?
Right. Oh, absolutely.
Like 7 lawyers, and we, you know.
No, and that's you do learn. Don't you learn so much, and you steal from them, and you take
Yeah,
from
yeah,
them,
yeah.
and you change too. I mean, you don't. I'm sure you don't think you're the same lawyer now that you were 20 years ago. I mean, I think I've really matured as a lawyer in terms of all of those aspirations. You know,
Sometimes I think
know.
I'm better. Sometimes I think I'm worse. You know, who knows?
well, in terms of having a drive, that I think that diminishes just a little bit. I mean, when you're so, you know, when you're like in your 40s and you're like just so want to fight every fight, you know, I think there's that. We maybe might pick your battles better.
You know, when you know, you win your first case and Grant dismisses it, and then you do the
Collette one.
The Collette one, right?
Boy, that typifies it, doesn't it?
Right? You remember the Collette ones a lot
Yes,
longer.
you do. Yes, you do, man.
Right.
Yes, you do. The highs and lows.
So what I want to know is how do you measure, you know, whether you're getting better? Like, because you seem to have a drive, and you seem, you know, all the people that you've named as being mentors and the kind of lawyer you, because in this business, and I've said this to Mike and other lawyers, it's easy to lie to yourself.
Of course.
Especially as a defense lawyer. I don't know if prosecution is the same.
Of course it is. It's all the same. It's all the same. Yeah, I mean, it's easy to, and I think a lot of people do lie to themselves, and they create these faux reputations, and good lawyers who are.
Well, I'm big at the fake fantasy,
Yeah.
vanity reputation. But,
Right, no.
but it's easy to walk in and say, you know, there was nothing I could do there. You know, that was a good plea deal, and blah blah blah. Or I did as best as I could, and
I think look. You know, one of the unfortunate thing about being a trial, I'm not necessarily talking about day-to-day lawyering. I'm talking about trial lawyering. You know what I mean? You know, day-to-day lawyering, there's a million gauges for that, you know. Because you in particular as a defense attorney, you have to make decisions. You know, what works out best? Are you going to get, even though there's going to be punishment, is there going to be rehabilitation, whatever? There's a million day-to-day lawyering things that you can gauge your sort of development in wisdom, you know. But in terms of being a trial practitioner, the unfortunate part is that there has to be a winner and a loser. And I one of the things that I just adamantly oppose is the culture, at least in the prosecutor's office, where if you try a case and you lose, people make fun of you.
Sorry.
Oh, you're good, man.
He's hearing the sound there. I didn't.
The culture of if you lost to somebody, they beat you. I adamantly oppose that, because to me, the measure of good lawyering is your performance as a lawyer, and not. I've tried some of the best cases I've ever tried where I've lost. You know.
Well, but I mean, you know, I can understand that mentality, because you have whatever your winning rate is, 98%, and you know, I don't know, but you must know.
It's good to win
when somebody's trying a case, whether it's in district court or whatever. You must know the people who are on trial, and you know, it would be tough for somebody to come back and say to Bill Crino, you know, if they're out of practice 2 years and did a drunk driving case, and say, yeah, I lost.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I support people. I respect people who are trying cases.
Right.
I do, and I think you're going to get better incrementally. I think, you know, one of the things to me that I've developed or learned as a trial lawyer, I don't know what your position is on Nick Saban or what you know about Nick Saban, but one of the things Saban teaches that I kind of grasped onto years ago, I kind of listened to something he did on YouTube and started listening. He's about process and about doing every the winning is important, of course, but that's the goal. But like the process and how you're doing with each, with him, it's as boiled down to how you run every play in practice. Or,
Well, yeah, I mean,
and I like that idea of process. I like that idea.
It's 100% true, but maybe said another way. If I go play in a golf tournament, right, of course I want to win.
Right.
And I'll tell you what, almost never going to win if you're thinking about, I've got to win, I want to win, about winning, right? Mm-hmm. It's too much pressure. You'll fold, you'll do something, you'll make dumb mistakes. But if you're thinking about, okay, I got to get this in the fairway, I got to get this on the green, the same is true about the practice, right?
It is. And
you don't have a lot of control over necessarily the outcome, but
no, and you'll do things from my side that are unethical. You'll cut corners that are unethical. You'll do things that aren't right if you win at all costs, win at all costs,
or you won't do enough.
Or you won't do enough. Yes,
you won't be prepared because you think you're going to win, right?
That's probably the worst. Jeff Feiger, I heard him speak one time at MSU, and he said, "I'm entirely motivated by self-doubt," and I loved that. I thought that was a great quote. And of course you don't want it. You want to have confidence, but that. I never think I got it. I approach a case, I approach the work because that preparation, that work is so critical, man.
Do you have a way of any way, and maybe there isn't, but do you have a metric or a measurement that you can say, I'm doing this better or I'm doing that better or I'm really pleased, or is it?
I don't know that I have. I certainly have a methodology in approaching cases, but whether I have a metric to see how I'm improving or not, I think it's just individual with each case. And I think if you try enough cases, which you do and I do, I think that I'm looking at each case and saying, that wasn't my best. I didn't try my best case. I did try a good case.
I say that all the time about Bordeaux.
About what?
The Bordeaux.
Bordeaux case. Yeah, right.
I say about my closing. It was not good. Now maybe it didn't matter by the time
I thought it was okay. I mean, different. You have an expectation for what you want to get across.
You're always critical, but my closing was way too long, and it was, whatever.
Yeah, no.
But
sometimes I
tried it. I had a lot of, I thought, effective, good moments.
I thought it was very effective.
But the closing was like, this case is over.
Yeah, I mean, you're a prisoner of your facts too. But on the other hand, you can only do what you can do. There's sometimes I get a witness, Andrew, and I'm asking this question. I'm going against some lawyer who I know is giving me no opposition whatsoever, and I'm like, this is the sloppiest, leadingest. I mean, this is terrible. This is terrible, dude. I'm just running roughshod here. Like, you should be ashamed of yourself doing this, right? And that's a metric because I know now like what's good, and then I'll try a case. I will say this again, good lawyers make you a good lawyer. Right. So when you're trying a case against good lawyers, you become a good lawyer. Right. And that's that tension point where really the intensity and the justice really happens, in my opinion. So it's like we're all sort of in this together.
I think we'll move on, but I do think in the cases I've had with you, you sort of, and I don't mean this as a slight, you sort of get that, Michael Jordan coming down the lane. And I said this to you basically. It was like, and not you deserve it.
You really can't get over that one search word.
No, but I mean, and you deserve it. And it says a lot about not only your credibility, but when you speak, judges listen to you. You don't overstate the case. Mm-hmm. You're very, very humble. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And when we've been in chambers, judges will ask you what you think, and it's like, oh man, are you fucking kidding me? Watch this,
It's faux humility. It just gets every.
It's like you're speaking the gospel or something.
I think
there's no way I'm.
If I'm getting fouls, I will say I do, of course, try to be fair, and I think if you have
that's the worst part about it,
right? If you're trying to be fair,
that's the worst part about it. Stop trying to, stop trying
to be so fair.
Stop trying to be pretending like you're being reasonable.
Right.
You see both sides. Yeah. It's like, oh god,
I get it. No, I knew you were going to this. I knew.
No, it really wasn't. But I'm trying to pay you a compliment that you've earned.
I accept it. Thank
you. I think a good reputation.
Thank you. I accept that compliment.
But let's talk about some of your cases.
Sure. Yeah.
And I know of the few cases I've done, I mean, you know, the one case that I didn't get to try, but I did the preliminary exam was
Oh, yeah.
Austin Smith.
Tough
and
case,
you tried that case
Three times.
3 times. The first time with the other defendant, and then twice against Austin Smith. Is that what you meant?
I did. I tried.
And that was Mike Hocking.
Yeah, the first case I tried against Patrick Crowley, and that was on the Suttles case.
Yeah.
And
then he got smoked. Right?
He got convicted. And then I tried
smoked as a bad term.
I tried the Smith case against Mike Hocking twice, and Mike was just, you know, he's a beast on that case. And I love trying cases
in a good way.
Yeah, I love Mike, and I love trying cases against him. But
what makes him good?
Mike is just, he's got so much credibility when he stands in front of a jury, and sometimes he pushes the bounds in terms of letting out his background to increase his credibility, and I yell and scream and he laughs at me, you know. But Mike has he's great with people. He has a really folksy way of speaking. He's extremely prepared like you are, and he tries his case. He picks a theory. He lets a lot ride until it's time for him to, you know, his 1 or 2 or 3 cases, and he eviscerates investigations.
And
eviscerates them.
In that case, just so it's clear, this was Brannigan Brothers.
Yes.
It might have been New Year's night.
It was New Year's Eve,
and there was a guy who wanted to get into the bar. There was some kind of confrontation at the front door.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe a manager or assistant manager. I can't remember what Austin Smith's position was.
He was the head bouncer.
Head bouncer and another bouncer. What was the guy's name? That got convicted?
Donald Suttle.
Suttle.
Yeah.
And
there was multiple other bouncers
involved.
Yeah,
they sort of push the guy, but somehow it gets down the street to the corner.
Yeah, in the most fractured of testimony, but yes, somehow the event it's an escalating and continuing event that ends up going down past the pie company right to the corner where the pie company used to be down there.
Ultimately, the guy falls and hits his head and dies, right? And it had something to do with the stick.
I mean, one of the first findings that he had linear bruising all over his body, and when you get hit with a metal object or a bat or a baton, it's going to leave a particularized bruising pattern. So it was clear that Suttles had a baton. It was clear that he was using that baton. Right. There was, however, a lethal head injury which occurred to the back of his head, which was a comminuted fracture of his skull, which is a very, very jagged, forceful fracture, consistent with could be from a fall from a high place, could be from falling backwards, it could be from a blunt object striking your head.
And Joyce DeYoung was your forensic pathologist,
who I respect so much and like, and she formulated an opinion, and that was an interesting case because I didn't agree with her.
It was a contra coup. Is that what it was?
Yeah, I mean, what ended up happening was he had a traumatic brain injury, and so the skull fracture is indicative that there's massive head trauma, and then the brain reacts in a certain way. And contra coup just means the brain is sloshing, is what it means around, just like you would if you were in a high-speed motor vehicle accident, and that causes all the injury to the brain, and that's the massive injury that he had.
And her theory was it was caused by the baton and not the fall.
Her theory was that it was caused by a fall, and my theory was the pinpoint nature of the injury and the type of fracture that was sustained was consistent with the ball of the baton striking his head. Mm-hmm. So that was the and ultimately I don't think the jury necessarily cared, because on the Suttle case, at least, he was an aider and abettor in this violent assault, and whether
Smith case, you mean?
Yes. Well, I'm saying in the Suttle case, the jury didn't necessarily care whether it was from the fall or the baton striking him, because he was striking him with the baton.
Yeah, right.
The Smith case was different. I think what that case came down to was this issue of self-defense, and it was a self-defense case ultimately, and it was a very complicated case.
I didn't
hung twice.
I didn't
poorly for me. Both times.
Love that case. I mean, it was going to be a high.
Who did you you represented Austin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And it was going to be a high stress.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he had no criminal history. I think the other guy
he was a police officer too.
Yeah. I think the other guy had a prior.
Prior homicide.
Right. And Austin didn't, and it was a really good guy, and I was thinking, man, this is.
Yeah, that was
that was second degree, right?
Donald Suttle was convicted of second-degree murder. Yes.
No, yeah, but Austin was open murder, but potentially second degree, right?
Yeah, he was charged with open murder. Yeah. So the first time it was It was 14-1 not guilty.
Yeah.
And the one was for second or first, I think, and she was dug in. And then the second time we tried it, I think we amended and we added assault GBH, and it was 7-5 or 6-6 or 7-5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so
honestly,
I think, and
as good a lawyer as I think I am, that was a perfect case for Mike Hocking.
yeah, Mike did it. Mike, the investigation, first of all, was absolutely terrible. It was. And not to disparage the officer involved, but the context is it was New Year's Eve. There was no detectives on duty, and an inexperienced detective took the case.
I mean, it would have been a hard, and in all fairness, it would have been a hard case to basically they know what happened.
Plus the victim, the complaining victim was a 2'5", and he was 6'4", 250.
Yeah.
He was out of control. He had gotten thrown out of 2 other bars. So it was it was tough, and I became very close with his family, and it was heartbreaking for them because I think the deceased was a real nice guy. I just think he was having a bad night. He was partying, whatever he was doing. He's just in general, he was a really nice kid, and so I think it just was a tragic circumstance. And I think at the end of the day, we took that in front of a jury. You had 2 good lawyers trying that case, and I think it worked out. I think Donald Tunnell was culpable, and I think Austin was not.
Right. And so tell me what you think some of your other big cases are.
Well, I think the defining case I've done is I did a cold case, no body homicide 2 years ago with the Michigan State Police, and I think that was sort of defining because it was so unusual. It was a no body case. It was a cold case, and the perpetrator was a real bad person. So those things culminated, and there had been tremendous media attention over the years because she disappeared in 2008 without a trace, and multiple teams had investigated it.
Tell me what the name of that defendant was.
People versus Brad Cornea, and the Supreme Court, the Court of Appeals just affirmed that conviction, so it's technically up on, but I don't think I have a problem talking about it because it's up on an app to the Supreme Court. But it was basically what we had an older college student. She was in her early 30s. Who had a prior history of drug and alcohol abuse, but had really straightened her life out. A student getting a second degree from Michigan State, full-time student, was working for the Drain Commission. I mean, just a real upstanding person. And she was dating this man, and he had been in Department of Corrections for the last 23 years. He'd just gotten out. And they dated, and she broke up with him.
They dated when she was in prison?
No, he got out of prison. They dated for about 9 months. She broke up with him, and 7 days later, she disappeared off the face of the earth forever. So it's kind of like, well, I wonder who did this. But it was a very difficult case to prove because we have no body, and the no body prosecution is they are allowed in Michigan, but they're difficult to do. And
you don't have a pathologist, do you?
No, I mean you literally have no body.
You don't have a cause of death.
You don't have any. You don't have a cause. You don't have a manner. You don't have a mechanism. So they're very difficult cases to do. So that
how do you feel about them? Or can't you say? I don't want to.
I just did another one. I think generically,
I thought you did do it. I thought you did do it.
Yeah, like a month ago, I just did my second one. But it's a very nuanced way to prove them. I mean, one of the things you have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt is death, and that's and how do you do that? How do you prove that a person is deceased?
The second one, was that the one on the roadway? Or not? Am I thinking of a different case?
The one on the roadway is the one that I'm talking about, where they found her items on the other side of basically they found her items stashed off of 127.
The more recent one, was that in a house or an apartment?
It was in a vehicle, and they found a car, and the car was soaked with blood, and that case was a different type of no body because it was more of not that it wasn't a murder, but he didn't do it. That was the defense in that case.
Did they concede that she was dead?
In the most recent one I did, or the first one? The most recent one was a male, and essentially the defense was, I loaned my car to somebody, and that person committed the homicide. Killed the male. Yeah. In the first one, it was, I don't know what you're talking about. She disappeared. I dropped her off at her house. I've never talked to her again. That was kind of the defense in that case.
If she's dead, I don't know anything about it.
I don't know anything. Right. So, so it's a very complex job of you have to take, what's her pattern of life? If you disappear off the face of the earth, you're not going to show up at work. You're not going to be at the country club. You're not going to be, all these places. And so you have to prove death by showing a pattern of life that extremely and abruptly stops. And then once you do that, then you have to objectively
But you're,
prove death.
when you say this is how you do it, right? There's no hornbook on that, right? This
This is a method that we've sort of developed, that prosecutors have developed. I picked up on the teaching of this AG who's done 3 or 4 of them, and Donna Pendergrast, and she said, hey, she did a PowerPoint. She said, run with this. So I kind of took what she did and then build on that, and then, we just different build on them.
How do you feel about it in a constitutional sense? Like, you're presumably convicting somebody and sending them to prison.
Yeah, right.
On, there's no corpus delicti. I don't even know if that's a thing anymore.
Yeah,
right?
it's look, that is the answer to that question is that issue has been fleshed out so repeatedly in so many appellate decisions that it is in the state of Michigan and throughout the entire United States, it is constitutional to do that. The only way that the corpus delicti would come in is if there's a confession, and then the corpus delicti rule might apply.
Yeah,
but
I know, but just we're not supposed to have a personal belief.
Yeah, this idea of
theory, right? But
this idea of no body, no crime is
right.
It's out there, right? And I think if you have sufficient evidence, both subjectively and objectively, to prove that this person is no longer on the earth any longer, and you can prove criminal agency by this defendant was the cause, then I feel no different about them than doing any type of homicide. In fact, I feel that the conviction is more worthwhile because they had to take the extra step to go through and get rid of the body. And getting rid of a whole person is a really big chore. It's hard to do. I mean,
it's almost impossible.
It's almost impossible. And
I say that because almost always you find the body. Right?
Almost always, right? And in order to do that, you can even use that after conduct as probative of first-degree murder, because you can say, look, in order for you to have planned to get rid of this, you got to have some before thought. I'm going to kill this person. I'm going to do this with their body. So I use it as proof of premeditation.
Right.
So, and it just went up to the Court of Appeals, and a panel, very quickly affirmed it. So I thought that was great.
That was the cold case.
Yeah,
the other one is still on appeal, right?
The other one is getting sentenced next month, so I can't get into it too much. But the other one's getting sentenced, and I just can't.
And tell me, do you have any other ones that were unique?
I have done so many different types of homicides, and you had
mentioned. What do you think? Like the most high-profile case you've done?
I think some of the most high-profile cases I've done, I think the one that you and I shared was a very high-profile case in this area. I think
3 or 4 years ago?
Yeah, I think that was a real
22?
high-profile. Yeah, that was a real high-profile case to both the co-defendant and that one. I think the Cornea case.
You tried that one twice?
I tried that twice, yeah, because I tried the co-defendant, and both got.
On that case,
the co-defendant got a lot of media attention, in particular because he testified, and that was some courtroom fun,
On that case,
the Fisher case.
Yeah, or who made the decision to try them separately, or was that just a foregone conclusion?
The decision to try them separately was because of the admission that we expected of the statements, and so under the Crawford-Bruton line of cases, where there would be implication, that would be a constitutional violation. So I would have loved to have joined them, but by necessity we had to sever.
Okay.
That was my decision. So and the Fisher case, interestingly, that had an interesting climax.
You say the Fisher case, meaning the Jason or Jacob Fisher was the boyfriend.
Yes.
Who killed the husband.
Yes,
and
right.
got on the stand and admitted it.
That was
exonerated the co-defendant, my client.
Right. Attempted to, right. And so I think that that case took a twist because the defense was identification initially, and then it took a real quick twist in the defense case to whatever that was. And so that got a lot of media attention because there was some courtroom action. The Cornea case I did got tremendous amount of media case. I did 2 faith healer parents recently within the last.
You've done several of those.
The faith healer case that I've done, I've tried that case 3 times because
really?
I tried it twice in the family division, and then I tried it the homicide cases.
I feel like I watched your closing on one of those.
Yeah, you watched it in the family division when I tried.
Was that what it was?
Yeah, on the parental, just a jurisdiction case is what it was, but I handled those because I was going to do the homicides. So
they had other kids.
yes,
And,
yes.
and so just the background would be you terminated their parental rights as to the other kids because the one child had died, right?
Yeah, there had been 2 children, and then a third died, and then a fourth and a fifth had been both extremely ill and had gotten no care, and PS took them as well. So I ended up terminating on 4 kids.
Protective Services.
Yes, CPS, yeah, Protective Services, right. Yeah. So that was a very high-profile case. That was a front page of the paper case. I've done.
It was a religious, sort of a religious defense or something.
It was, yeah, real fascinating constitutional sort of case, and how to handle that case. So that's on direct appeal right now, which is kind of interesting. I've done a number of high-profile baby homicides when little children were killed. I've done a lot of high-profile shootings, over the years.
How many homicide cases have you done?
I've tried 45 cases for Ingham County, 45 homicides, and
to a verdict is what you're saying.
All 45 cases to verdict, yeah. And then I've handled, a lot more that have pled or resolved in other fashions.
And
but
how many not guilties have you had?
I've had 2 not guilties and 3 hung. So I had 2 hung against Mike Hocking on the same case. Eric Tomal hung me on a case 11-1, and then the guy pled
11-1 guilty.
11-1 second manslaughter.
Oh, but for guilty.
But for guilty, yeah. They were all guilty, but one was for manslaughter.
Oh, I got you.
And then I lost 2 self-defense cases over the years, but the other ones I've won, with different verdicts, first, second. The other case that
and I guess we're violating your rule when you say you lost them because you're saying you didn't really lose.
Right. The other case that was really cool, I'll just tell you, is I forgot, in so many cases over the years, but I did a case where it was 2 kids. It was a group of kids from Lansing Catholic. Do you remember that case years ago? And the mayor of the city of Lansing, his daughter was dating.
I was on that case. It was over by Dwight Rich. The house was.
Yeah.
And they decapitated the guy, right?
Yeah. It was a gunshot case, but it was a double homicide. Yeah, it was a bad double homicide.
It was
but
marijuana or something.
It was, yeah, it was back in the day, and that was Mike Hocking represented the one that went to trial, and that was a real high-profile case because of all that publicity. And what I'm saying that, all of that was public knowledge, so it's not like we're letting something out of the bag or some. What I'm just saying that
I don't think she testified.
No,
and it was over marijuana though.
It was, yeah.
Can you believe it?
At the time, yeah. Now there's marijuana everywhere. Right. Like you can just go buy a bunch of marijuana. But yeah, that was a real high profile case.
I don't know. I don't remember where that was, but
it was somewhere over by.
No, I know where it was.
Okay.
I mean, when I say when, that had to have been at least
2000,
a decade.
I tried it in 2010.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so it was around 9 or 10 that happened, and there was 2 co-defendants. One pled, and the other one was convicted of multiple counts of first degree murder. But that person's parent was a law enforcement officer too. So there was like a whole lot of different pieces in that case that made it real high profile. Yeah, interesting case.
Tell me over the 25 years, what do you think the biggest changes in the practice have been from a prosecutor standpoint?
Everything changed in prosecution with COVID and George Floyd and the progressive prosecution movement that has hit the United States. And so everything is different than when I started now.
What about George Floyd?
I don't want to say, I want to say it in an appropriate way, just the anti-police, anti-prosecution sentiment that developed from that.
But the police officer in Grand Rapids was acquitted, right? Or not acquitted, but a hung jury, I think.
Yeah, just in terms of how we look at cases, I think the lifer stuff with juveniles has changed. I think everything has changed. All of the policies in terms of how we're looking at protected groups, how we're looking at youthful, young offenders, how we're looking at police interaction, how we're looking at all these things. All those things have changed, in my opinion, 100% for the better. But it's just a matter of they have changed, and everything is just so different from when we started.
But you're doing a no body case, so I mean that's sort of on one end, and then what you're saying on the other end, we have to have more empathy for all.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't know if empathy is the right word, but I think that we need to be more aware of just development and how the courts are handling certain types of offenders. And I think that people have different opinions on them. I think mostly it's for the good. I think the no body homicides, for example, that I've done involve seasoned criminals with prior records,
Right.
Serious prior records. This is different than a 17-year-old running around with a gun in his hand. I think those are very nuanced differences. I think how police are interacting with people in the community. I think how we're looking at those police-citizen interactions have changed. All of those, we need to keep up with the times, and that all changed during that time. And I think, when Prosecutor Carol Seaman came in, she was very polarizing for a lot of people. I think I disagreed with a lot of the things that Carol said. On the other hand, I really agreed with a lot of things that Carol said, and she introduced this idea of progressive prosecution and changing the way we look at offenders and offenses and sentencing and all these things. I think it's been a change for the good. I can say that on some of the lifer cases where we're doing these reviews on lifers, I've struggled with that. I've struggled with that. I had a case I did, another New Year's Day homicide, where it was in a local market here, and you got 8 guys in there, and it was this just unbelievable shootout where this guy went on a rampage. He killed a guy, he shot another guy. At the end of this, there were 5 people shot, 1 deceased, and 1 paralyzed from the neck down. Right.
That's a tough case.
Right. And I tried that case, and it came back 1st-degree murder and 3 counts of assault with intent to murder. Tried it in front of Collette years ago, and he was doing life, and the sentence was dropped down to 30 years. And I struggled with that. I really struggled with that. Some people applauded it. So it's just wherever you are on that spectrum, things have changed dramatically, and we just have to go with the tide. I think adherence to the law, to the standards, to the facts is critical, and I think that will answer a lot of those questions that we're presented with.
And I think in 96 was the OJ case, sometime around there.
Yeah.
94, 95, 96 period.
Yeah.
And
I was at Norm, so yeah.
And, wasn't surprising. Actually, at the time, I had a case with Bankston, and we were talking outside in the little conference room, and we were talking about how long it was going to take. And I said, I think it's going to take this jury about 10 minutes, to come back. But
OJ changed things too. I mean, that's
what I would say.
That really changed things too.
Changed things because it's very difficult to overcome the presumption of the boyfriend or the husband.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, we look at all domestic cases differently,
sure,
right?
Yeah.
And then the idea that in Dateline, you always look at the boyfriend. It's almost like, of course he did it, right?
Yeah.
Don't we look at that? Almost?
Of course. I mean, it's the first place we look, right? Yeah. Boyfriend, the parent, if it's a kid.
What do you think about social media relative to?
It's a great question. Social media has changed everything too.
I mean, the evidence-wise.
Everything. Social media and cell phones in general. I mean, everything. So many of my cases now are made because everybody's videoing everything, or texting everything, or Facebook Messenger everything, and we're building cases that in the past we maybe could never have made based upon, we can track people's locations, we can set what they're doing.
The location thing, I think, is not as compelling, and maybe it is to a jury, but I've never found it to be.
I think you can.
But what you say in the text messages.
But what you say, what you say in the text messages is critical, right? I mean, you want to just go first bird's eye right into what we're saying. I think that's a great position.
The point, and my understanding, and I've done a few of these, is, and it's usually the same guy, Terrell, right? That does the location services. But, the general, I think, science on it is the closest cell tower will pick it up unless it's full, and then it bounces to another one, right? And you got a geographic range, right? And you could be anywhere in that range, but you don't really know. So it's not like the current state of the science on a cell phone ping. They can put you at, 1515 Smith Street, right?
No, and I think be careful how you argue that. Prosecutors have to be careful. I can tell you that it says you're not in Charlotte though, and I think that there's something that can be, you're not across town. You're within that general, and especially if you're showing like movement or I think that it can be highly probative. But you're right. The science on that is you have to be very careful how you use it.
I gotta throw a shout out to Nicole Matusko on the case we did, because
she did a wonderful job with that, didn't she?
One of the hardest things that I thought would be, how are you gonna in the homicide we did, it was sort of a love triangle, right? I mean,
right.
And I don't know where it is on appeal, but these are all facts that were part of
the record.
Sure, record. So and she had a boyfriend. The boyfriend took the stand and admitted to killing the husband, and there was, let's say, a lot of duplicitous text messages, right? And it was a complex, I don't know if it was thousands of pages, but certainly hundreds
of pages,
right? And Nicole went through and lined up the text messages between what she was saying to the husband and what she was saying to the boyfriend.
She did an amazing job with that, and hands down, that's the most compelling fact that we had in that case.
I don't know about that. I
very
mean,
compelling fact.
There was the note cards in the. I don't know about that. I mean, listen, you did a great job. I just thought,
I thought that was pretty compelling from my perspective.
And listen, it was going to be compelling, but a lot of times you can present evidence that you think is really good.
Yeah.
And you just get the feeling, I don't know that they got it.
Right. Yep.
It was complicated, and you're going between two different sets of phone records, right? And you've got to put it up on the screen, and then you got to have the witness identify what's being said, and then you've got to. I mean, it was a complex way to do it, and I thought she did a great.
She did an amazing job and did so much work going into that to get ready for it. But that is a classic example of how social media, cell phone, everything. Because when we were starting out, you and I, we didn't have that.
No,
we didn't have any of that stuff. And it's just so different.
The other big thing is the body cams, right?
Body cams, big change, right?
Right.
Positive and negative. I mean, for prosecutors, because what's written in a police report and what's on a body cam often are going to be very different.
I don't know that we would have won half as many drunk drive. I shouldn't even say half. 5% of the drunk drivings that we've won.
Oh, do you use a lot of the body cam stuff?
Cams
yeah.
I
didn't even think of that because I haven't done a drunk driving in so long. But yeah,
I don't know if you ever did one in private practice, but
I haven't done it. I've only tried one drunk driving case my whole career.
The pass I was talking about, the Michael Jordan down the lane.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think happens if a police officer walks in and takes a stand and there's nothing to contradict? They can basically freestyle it because there's no video.
Right.
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 Oh yeah, he fumbled. He tripped.
Right, as opposed to the
video
allegedly intoxicated driver, right? How are you going to combat that, right?
Yeah, I mean, there was just no way to do it.
And, I didn't think about the usefulness of body cam, and that's good. I mean, and that's what it's about, right? I mean, that's why they should match identically or close to it, or be certainly reconcilable. The body cams and the testimony, and that's a good fit. That's fair. That's what it's about.
Let me ask you about one of the big changes that's happened in, I don't know how long it's been, but we have a public defender's office.
Mm-hmm. Big change.
And what do you think of that vis-a-vis the criminal justice system?
I think the public defender's office is doing great, and I think that they...
do you have a note card that you're supposed to read this part from?
No, I do. I think that, I think that if there's a prosecutor's office, there should be a public defender's office. And I, as being personally part of the appointed system, that was you never knew who you were going to get when you got appointed attorney. Now you know you're going to get good quality, supervised lawyers who are mentored, and there's roundtabling, and there's resource, and all those things. And of course, how could that be a bad thing? I mean, and I think the public defenders do really an excellent job. The ones I work with at the higher level, Steve Cornish in particular, I think he does just an outstanding job. Now he is the public defender, but when he was trying cases, he does an outstanding job. So
Keith Watson, another guy.
Yeah, Keith, my friend, and I thought Keith did an excellent job when he was out there. But it's been, to me, a hugely positive addition to the criminal justice system in our community, and a big change.
So tell me how old you are.
I turned 59 today.
Today, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
March 30th.
Yeah.
And where do you see yourself over the next, I don't know. I've talked about this a lot. Like, how long do you keep? You're young. You're in good health.
Yeah, I feel good. I'm young. I have young kids, and so I really do. I want to give my boss a shout out, of course, but I mean, I do. I have a good situation. I really enjoy working for John DeWayne. John's been very good to me. Nicole's been very good to me, and I am deputy chief assistant, and I pick my own cases basically, and I like the cases I'm doing. I'm interested, so I'll probably keep doing this for at least through John's tenure, and then we'll maybe reevaluate at that point in time. But I think John's got at least 2 or 3 years left. He just got elected, right?
I don't have any idea.
I think he's got 3 more years left. So I'll definitely.
He's running again.
He is going to run again. Well, I
don't know if that's I don't know if I'm supposed to let that out of the bag.
There's a financial incentive for me to stay 33 years, so I may end up, and I'm getting close, so I might as well. Yeah. We'll see. I think about it every day, but for now, as of today, I'm happy with doing what I'm doing.
What I'm surprised by is that people who have left your office that you don't really hear about. They just, that's it for them. I mean, is working as a prosecutor so great that once you,
I don't know.
We've had you leave,
we've had so much. We've had so much turnaround, and some of that has varied in terms of its
affinity, and pretty young guy when he retired. I mean, he could have.
He was done. I mean, and he had enough time. He had enough time, and that he could just retire flat out. And so good for him. He's retiring.
Yeah, but I mean, you just walk away from the there's other things you can do, right?
I know. It's like, and the question becomes, when you get to be doing this as long, because you have what, 35 years practice, 36?
1990. Yeah, May of 1990.
Yeah, 36. So I have
and 3 years before that working at the firm. So
wow. So I mean, I have
September of 87 is when I started working at my dad's firm.
I think I have 33 years in practice. I think, would I want to do something else? But like what? What would I want to do? I guess my barometer is, if I come in and I get a new case and I'm interested in it and I really want to keep turning the pages, then I'm doing the right thing. And I think for now, I feel like I'm interested in, and I have enough expertise in doing it that I know exactly what I'm doing. And to me, I'm the type of person that I don't like the unknown. I wouldn't want to go and say, now I work in a firm and I don't know the nuances of being a PI attorney. I don't know, because every practice area has.
I think you could figure that out, though. I mean, the difference is, you get to pick your cases, but they're handed to you. You know what I mean?
Totally. I mean, I don't have to hustle business. I don't have to bill.
And part of it is there's always going to be a need.
Yeah.
For them, so you don't have to go out. But I think, all the methods and the processes that you talk about, whether it's music or the Suzuki method, you know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Like, you develop a process of how you know a case.
You have that, right? You have a methodology that you approach it, right?
And that would apply to any case.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I think about it. Maybe I would do. I enjoyed doing personal injury back in the day, but for now, we'll see.
But I think it would be frustrating.
It would, to have like a high level of expertise and then go just
No, I don't think that's it. I think the frustrating thing is, you have police officers and they investigate the case and they turn it over, and then you can call the police officer, and that they're basically working for you, and you have your staff and they prep the file, right?
Right, yeah.
And I think the hard thing is putting together a case in private practice. If you have a perfect situation, like maybe one of the big PI firms where you're getting big cases.
It's difficult for defense attorneys in criminal context to put the case together. I mean, you're getting a massive discovery dumped on you. No one's explaining it to you. There's no chronology.
Right.
You have to just
There's no narrative.
There's
You're
no
trying
narrative.
to find holes in it.
Right, and that's very difficult. I think about doing defense work, and I don't have any, like moral thing about doing defense work. I believe, as I've said here today, I believe that justice is in that tension between good lawyering on both sides. Then we get justice, right? But I just think the nuance is so different in being a defense attorney. Like the words that you say, the words that you use, to me, are different. I mean, I could probably do it, but I just think it's just different.
Right. Let me ask you this: you came here in 1990, 89?
89, yep.
And I mean, I'm struggling with the math. That's 36 years?
36 years, yeah.
Yeah. And your parents lived in New York at the time. And your brother lives on the
East Coast, yeah.
And did you think you were going to be in Lansing, Michigan for...
No. I thought I was going to do one semester at Cooley, transfer, and go back east.
Right, which was...
And here I am.
By the way, which a lot of people did.
Yeah, right.
Right? They came because if they got decent grades their first semester, they could get into another law
go to
school.
Toro or one of those other schools, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And so, you've lived here in various parts. I mean, you probably lived in Lansing when you first came here.
Lived in Lansing, Brighton, East Lansing, Okemos, everywhere, yeah.
Living, and you got kids in school, right? Young kids.
Yeah.
And so tell me what you think of that as a career choice. And, you don't really think about it as a choice because, look, you're one of the best lawyers I've ever seen.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. That's really nice.
And if you would have chosen to go back to New York, you probably would be at the same level anywhere. Now maybe.
Yeah, I don't know about those choices. I think Michigan is much more my home than New York ever was, because everything big that's ever happened to me in my life has happened in Michigan. I've got married in Michigan. I have kids in Michigan.
Right.
I've raised my kids in Michigan. I've been professionally successful in Michigan. I have friends. So I'm a Michigander, and I would never even think, I can't even believe about going back east. And I think this is a wonderful place to live. Things are so accessible. I love the university sports, cultural events. The schools are wonderful. It's a great place to be.
Right.
I think, and I'm sure you agree with that. I think it's a wonderful place to be.
I've never lived in it. I always say.
Yeah. And it's just the pace is just so different out here than it is back
I always
east.
say, Lansing it's not that great. I mean, it's just not. But I've got a unique ability. I've got good basketball tickets. I've got good football tickets.
Exactly.
If I run into these guys, I know them. I'm a member of a country club that if I was anywhere else in the world would be really expensive.
What quality of life is that, right? I mean, you can pick
the
up.
governor lives not too far, and I've grown up with it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So you have access to people and things.
That's it, man. You have access to things that you don't have access to.
And I can travel, and I travel, and so it's like, and really, I don't know. Maybe I would have been a better lawyer someplace else, but
what a great place to and look at the name you have for yourself too. I mean, to be this well known and to be part of a legacy. I mean, how could you ever trade that in, that legacy that you have in this community that your family has?
I haven't, but you constantly
I'm just saying,
gotta work for it.
Right.
And you know what kills me?
What?
I'm just waiting for me to say the wrong thing on one of these podcasts and get canceled. Canceled about Tuesday.
I know.
Well, this has been great.
All right, thank you. What a pleasure. Thank you so much, Angela. All right.
This is awesome.